Hello, everybody, and happy Monday and happy Indigenous Peoples Day. So I know normally on Monday I go live with my critiques, but today I'm going to be recording it. It's because of the holiday. My kids are home. Things are a little less predictable here, and I don't want to go live and painfully put you guys through any kids crying or screaming or anything like that. So I'm going to record it, and if that does pop up, I will stop and edit it together so you will never hear it on your end. But I hope all is well with you guys, and if you have any questions, make sure you throw them in the comments down below. All right. Let's get to the critique. All right, everybody, let's get into it. Okay, so we've got a bunch of submissions, and today we are going to go through them in reverse alphabetical order, and we will talk about them through that way. So first up, we have Shane's update to little boy with the glowing orb thing. So the one thing that I really like about this one is that there is it's kind of abstract what the glowing orb is, where in this one it's a very clear thing, but it's odd because like this part of it gets a lot of darkness, and then this part of it gets like super glowy, so it almost feels like there's a light source coming out of there. And really what I want is for the whole thing to be illuminating, so it would be nice if you could change the shader around on this to give it some emission or something, or you can do it in the comp just to make it glow out a little bit so it's brighter and a little bit more punchy. Just so it's like, it's because it's nice when it's just like a glow spot, you know what I mean? Like it's just like this one's more like vapor, and just kind of abstracting that a little bit, mostly because like seeing these the dark shadows or the dark shapes in this top area is not ideal to what that would look like. Okay. By the way, I really like the specular highlight on his hair. I think that's looking really good. For the rim side, I would like to desaturate this light a little bit, or the color on him a little bit. And then it would be nice, now that I know that the hair can do this, it would be nice to get a little bit more of that, especially on this warm side, just a little bit of that warm light in there. The shadow from this, I can see it here, and I can see it kind of coming down his arm, is very sharp, and I know it's a small light source there, but I would soften that a little bit. Like looking at the reference, you can feel there's more softness in this, like more softness on his face. And there's not that kind of harsh shadow look. And I would like to replicate that a little bit just by increasing the radius of that light, just a touch. Additionally, this warm light that's coming in off camera is also very hard edged. Like I see a lot of like very, very hard edged shadows. I would look to soften that as well. Just to kind of soften it up, like create a little bit more of that. And oh, here's one there. Just more of like a soft look to it, and I think that will definitely help out a lot. And then watch out for this just getting a little bit too bright. Like this area can come down a little bit. You can see it coming down his arm too. So just watch out for that over brightness there. But good stuff overall. All right, Nigel. Oh, got these mixed up a little bit. This closer here. So Nigel, yeah, we got 2 submissions here for you. Okay, so we've got your reference from this exterior scene. Really cool stuff. Like, I love the blue coolness. I love that we're getting a sense of the atmosphere and stepping back into space there. I think that's really nice. Here, your colors are really starting to look on point. I really like, and I like that we've got, you know, these warm elements that you're kind of mixing in there. The one thing I would really like is do you see how like the foreground area is a little bit darker, then this steps back in the haze, and this steps back and this steps back. There is obviously the kind of like a ground level haze across everything, but the values do step back into space a little bit. It would be nice if we had that too, because like right now everything kind of is a uniform haze. It would be nice if it was like a little bit darker, especially in here, a little bit more contrast in there, just to get that to read, and then all this stuff back in here. This distant space stuff really steps back further away. The headlights look good. They could go brighter, more around the X. So like it looks like I see like the hard square. That's more like a compositing thing. Is just adding some glow to it. And then additionally, I want to see their influence down here on the ground. And you can look at some reference on that because it would be nice. Like we really, I mean that's the whole point of the headlights, is to get that influence on the ground. So I would add some glowiness there, some glowiness on the windows. And just look one more time. Yeah, do you see how like overly lit these characters are to get them to read a little bit? Like they're just like their lighting on them is a little bit exaggerated. I would try and find a way to exaggerate the light on this character. Like maybe the warm light comes in here and hits the character, but just something to get the character to pop off too. But this is a really good start. All right, now let's take a look at your poker submissions. So we've got the most up-to-date one here. I love this like pink glow that's kind of coming up. It's nice that it's like some nice bounce light from the character onto the cards there. It's a little bit strong. I would take it down just a touch. But I love the idea of it there to get those to pop off in the background a little bit. Overall, I think this is looking pretty good. I love the God rays that are shining around him as like our, it's a really nice framing element. Getting this darker regions up in here is really nice. And I think that's working really well. I think the table back here can go just a touch darker. And then, let's see. And then looking at the character's face, the eye whites can go a little bit less blue. There's a lot of like very small specular highlights on it. I would just limit those down to just like one eye ding on there. And then, yeah, and I think that would leave us in a pretty good spot. So I would just do a little bit more eye work and perhaps creating just a little bit more contrast on the character herself. Let's see. Just a little bit more contrast on the character I think will help out a lot. But yeah. Yeah, I think that'll work out really well. Okay, so that's an excellent job on this. I think this is coming along really well. Also, just getting a little bit more diffusion, like softy, glowy stuff on the highlights and the bubbles there, I think would work really well. So good job there. And moving on to Kjelds. So really cool reference here. I know you said what it's from, but it reminds me of 101 Dalmatians, like the original, and I think that's pretty cool. Your color is right on. Like, you're matching the colors really, really well. This is a nice mock-up that you're doing here. I would keep these darker values here, allow these to get a little bit lighter. I'd like to see the way that they are there. Allowing those to stay like that. Yeah, that works out really well. In terms of this character, it's interesting because like we've got this light shining up this way at it. By the way, I love this camera angle. I love your unique setup here. It's almost like do we want, like, there's two things that we can do. One would either be use this light to hit the character and make the character brighter over a darker background and allow the bright light to kind of spill off here to the left, or do something where the character doesn't really ingest any of this light and like we create a brighter background allowing the darker silhouette to read through. Just a couple options there for you that I thought would be really nice. I do really like what's happening. It's really subtle. I don't know if you guys can see it in this recording, but like what's happening on this wall here is really subtle. There's just some like subtle light hitting it, a subtle light to dark fall off there. This could very easily be like a super jet black. Seeing the same thing here, just like a super subtle fall off as we go along there, and it's working really, really well. Love the color scheme. Love this combination of greens and blues for the environment mixed in with these kind of yellowy orange headlight thing. And then you're doing a subtle thing here, which is nice, which is infusing some of that warmer color into the haze down here. And I think that's going to be really successful. So I think this is a great start. I'm really excited to see this. And yeah, I encourage you to just keep moving forward. Emma, very cool. He's looking great. This edge, there's something about the way that this is glowing that makes it look like the background is changing, like just around his edge. And I'm not quite sure why that is. It's almost like, because we're like losing that purple tone and it's fading to white right around his edge. It's almost like we see this sometimes if there is, if these two are like rendered on different renders, and then you blur the background and there's something white back there that's trickling around the edge. But it's odd. So I would just look out for that and try and, if you're going to glow the character, I guess just really soften that. Like whatever's causing that, just soften it so it doesn't quite feel like a line, because we're not seeing it on the screen right side. But overall, the shaping's looking good. Love the Rembrandt lighting. I think that I would maybe try and run an ambient occlusion pass to get a super soft, like subtle shadow around the eyes. They're a little bit bugged out, and it would be nice to get a little bit of shadow to set them back into place a little bit. The speck on the hair is looking great. Eyedings are looking good. I would also maybe just brighten up just like the core. That's a little brighter. A little too bright. It's a little crazy. Something like that. And then let's just blur it like a touch. Nope, not a box blur. Gaussian blur. That's our blur. Like 1 pixel. And then just to get a little bit more of this like poppiness. You see that like right in the middle? So that's super subtle, but yeah, I would say that's pretty much it. And then maybe it's okay. I was gonna say if maybe a little bit of specularity on the shirt. If you want, but totally your call. I think that's okay. I think the shirt's looking pretty good. But yeah, I think everything else is coming together really well. The only other thing is like there's a lot of red light that's coming in here. And we're seeing it from the references, like there's a lot of red in there. But the environment here, like we're seeing some red back there, and we're seeing a little bit like a touch of red back here. And in our case, the environment doesn't fully support it, that red light is there. So one thing to consider is just shifting your background plate more from a purple towards a reddish tone. It doesn't have to go all the way there, but like, more magenta-y, more on towards the red side. But yeah, he's looking great. The lighting on him is looking great. All right, Dani. So there's an update from your demo reel. It's already looking better. I love the light coming in. I really would want to push this blue color, where this one's still feeling a little bit sterile, a little static. Let's just take a step back from this. You can kind of see there's like a really cool light coming in here. And if we shift this along that way, like I think that would really, really help out the scene overall. Maybe this. And then additionally, we could take that, make the brights a little bit brighter. And we can even do this. So this is a little much. But taking this and like glowing it up and like really creating like a woo-ah, what I like to call an ah, which is like a godly thing. In terms of the rest of the environment, this texture in here in this wall is looking like just very large noise, which all that does is kind of make everything look a little bit too small. So I would work to get some of this brick texture in here or something. And the bricks over there are too large. The ground is a strange ground for a church. Like I would find some reference for that. It feels like kind of carpeting, but like low res carpeting. So I'm not quite sure what that is. It would be nice if that was like also kind of a wood floor. And in terms of looking at a few other things too. So the pews seem very small in relation to the crown and the doorways. And it's fine that the doorways are big. But like, it's just like a lot of space here between them. If a human is, standing is like this big, like there's a lot of space from here to here. Maybe try nudging them together and just making those pews a little bit bigger. And then additionally for you, I would work to get the background outside of the window is a little bland. And the two ways you could go with that would be to make it brighter. So it's like, pretend that this church has zero interior lights turn down, but it's like a bright sunny day outside, and then that would like shift more towards white, and we would see more light bleed around the edges. But just kind of having like a brighter blue consistently in all the windows isn't great. It's just not that exciting. So I would just keep pushing that. Get the color in line, clean up some of these textures, and we'll take a look at it next time. All right, in terms of your, let's look at Poker Puss next. So let's take a look here. The glowing eyes are funny. His foot seems wrong. Am I crazy? It feels like there's like an extra cube down there or something. So I would just watch out for that. Like this one feels fine, but over here there's something janky going on. I would isolate, I may have said this wrong before, but the light is clearly coming in from this side of him. And this rim light on this side just feels a little bit forced. I would keep it on the screen left side of him. I think that's enough to do it. Glow from the light's looking pretty good for now. It's just we need to soften this edge. It's just like a little, it's too crispy. And then the light on the table is good and bright, but it's a little bit too strong. I would peel that back a little bit. But the one thing that I really, really like about it is like, look at all the bounce light we're getting up underneath the cards. I think I like this one especially. Looks beautiful. It looks so cool. And then we've got like a spotlight here, but not here or here. I would pick to do one or the other. And if you were going to throw spotlights in here, make them a little bit bigger and not quite as bright. And make the radius so we're not seeing like the hard shadow. It would be nice to get a little bit of bump in the ground too. Because it looks a little perfectly smooth. Just like a little scuff mark, like people have walked across it. And then, yeah, let's start with that. Let's go from there. And then I also, let's see. I also feel like I'm trying to find a way to get some more darker values in there. Because I do like the haze over. I guess maybe it's just like darkening from here outward. Just a little bit to get us center up there. Just like allow this fog and kind of stuff to kind of fade out as we go across there. But yeah, I think that's about it. I'm gonna come back to this one at the end just because you asked for some comp help, and I'll switch over to Nuke for that. Ashley, love the bounce light getting in here. I think that's working out really well. They're just it's just coming out is a little bit super warm. It's very orangey. So I would just tone down the saturation on that. But I love the idea of the bounce light coming in and filling up this side. Her ear, something's going on with her ear. It makes me feel uncomfortable, and I don't know why. It's like there's a hard line there, where his looks great. But I would just look into that, and then a little bit of hard shadows there. I would soften those just a little bit from the light coming down above, increase the radius on that. This might be something that you need to paint in after, but like, do you see how you can kind of see through his hair a little bit? It's not great. It's not the worst thing ever, but like, we want to just be able to. I feel like this is one of those infomercials for men losing their hair. We're just painting some extra hair in there. That doesn't look great, but you get the idea. Like, you can take this side too. Find a way to fill that stuff in. Just as a way to, that was super janky. Don't do it that badly. But like, oh, you know what? It might be a problem with the transparency on the hair because I'm looking right here. And you see how like his hair right there kind of disappears? So just check into that. Same thing up there. I would clip this leaf off the side. We don't really want that just kind of jutting in there a little bit. Yeah, I think that's a good place to go from here. But this is getting closer. I'm wondering. I was kind of hesitating for a second because I want there to be more of this, like red light bouncing up around. Like I want these to be more filled in too, and I'm wondering why they're not naturally. It might just be the shader. It might be just lifting the shader and making it a little bit brighter. Also, there's a bump on this cup that feels a little not like a coffee cup. Like there would be more specular highlight on it too. So I just look into that. And yeah, it's coming along really nicely though, Ashley. Alfredo, beautiful stuff. I love, by the way, everyone else doing the headlights, check out what he's doing here. It feels, because like the headlights they're smooth on the outside and they've got a really cool patterning happening underneath there. So something to be aware of as well. But you're doing a really good job there. I would, the way that you've got kind of them glowing up, go ahead and try creating like a volumetric that pops out a little bit. And then I would expect more of that light on the ground. Just like a little bit more filled in there. This is looking great. The characters are looking great. Like I said, I love that that's edging and hitting on the rim there. The ground is a little bit too perfectly saturated red. I would pull back that saturation just a touch. Love, love, love the specular highlights that you're getting on the ceiling there. On the roof. That's not a ceiling, that's a roof. Love the haze. It would be cool too, like maybe try, if you want, a different camera angle with the same lighting setup, like maybe a punch-in just on the characters or something and see how that looks. But I think this is great. I think this is really pretty. And then just like a couple little minor changes there. And then Aaron. So, but it's a similar setup actually, like similar camera angle. Cars rotated around. So the same thing. I don't feel like these lights are totally turned on. I just feel like there's a haze around them. Like, do you see how in Alfredo's, like, these lights feel like they're on. They feel like they're glowing. They feel like they're bright. They're blowing out. Where these are not quite so much. I do like that. I remember from the last iteration we had the light confusion. The amount of light sources is really toned down, and now this feels like it's making more sense. We've got like 3 main light sources: moonlight, the green, and the red over here. So for the green, let's talk through them one at a time. So we talked through these. I like the influence that we're seeing on the ground. Maybe a little bit more up there, maybe a little bit more here. No, that's not right, because that's on the other side of it. But just making these brighter. That would be for light source 1. For the moonlight, I think it's actually looking really, really well. If you could trickle a little bit more in on a couple of these other points, that would be great. But overall, I think that's looking really nice. For this character, that I'm just not buying that the character is glowing, mostly because there's like dark values inside the character. It feels like there's a glowing thing right around the character, if that makes sense. But I don't feel like light is fully emanating out from it. So I would continue to make the character brighter. Again, if we're thinking about the character as a light source, like think about them as one of these headlights, like going super duper bright. Yeah, but I love like these, like the way that it's affecting everything kind of in the scene out here. I think that's looking really nice. This depth of field is a little bit extreme as we step from this house back here. So we are kind of far away. And so there's the way that depth of field works is it's more exaggerated on smaller scales. So like this kind of feels like a miniature because like this to this distance is like, let's say this is, I don't know, 50 feet away from camera and this is 150 feet. The depth of field difference would not be that much because in order for the focus to be at 50 feet, which would catch this in the focus, the range would be opened up enough where we'd see back there a little bit more. Now, if this was like a 5-inch tall house and this was 5 inches and this was 15 inches, this makes sense. But because it's just the way that it's just physics, man. But I would just tone that down a little bit. But yeah, I think this is moving along really nicely. Okay, Dani. So let's take a look. Let's go into Nuke here. We got it open. Go. Okay. So we wanted to see your image. Let's go to desktop. Let's see Mondays. Got Dani. I think it was 2. Nope. Just pure Dani. Original Dani. Okay. All right. So I could have talked about this a little bit in Photoshop now that I look at it. So I think that, like, I love the shaping that you're getting on the buildings. I think that's working out really well. It would be nice to get more variation in the buildings. They feel very, very similar to one another. Like, get some stuff on the roof, get some water towers up there. There's some rooftops in urban areas have gardens up there, like some plants or something. Just mix it up a little bit more with the buildings. Maybe make one that's black. Maybe make one that's painted a different, I don't know, something. It's just they're all very similar brick. Okay. And for this one, what I'm missing overall that we were seeing from your reference is just like an overall general haze that's kind of taking over everything. And like we can do that with a glow if we want. But generally what I do, like the glow is nice. You got the, you can tint it. You can adjust the tolerance. You can, make it brighter. You can increase the saturation on it, right? You can do a lot of things, but I find it to be a little bit limiting. So what I like to do is, like normally when I do this, I'm just grabbing, looking at the alpha channel now, I usually like just grab just the highlights, but in this one, let's really open it up a little bit. And let's grab more values. And what we want to do is I'm going to merge this inside of itself, inside of the original here. So we got this is the alpha channel inside of that. Let's see. Oh, I know why. Because it's a JPEG. It doesn't have an alpha to it. So we will shuffle it and just give it a white alpha out of the gate. Weird. Oh gosh, I never changed it to inside. That's why. Okay, that's what I was looking for. So those values inside of that. Now we can push the hue around a little bit. Like I want to make this more warmer. It's not luminosity. That's not what I want. I want to make it warmer. Increasing the reds. Let's go ahead and increase the saturation on that stuff. And then what we can do is we can just blur the hell out of it. And then by adding this over top. Now you can adjust, see how this saturation kind of adjusts that a little bit and tone this way down. And now we can start to kind of create an overall glow and overall haze to it a little bit. And actually, because we've isolated this down to, you can adjust the colors however you want. You can also even just add a grade node in there. And really adjusting the colors of this however you want. Additionally, you can even do something like adding, and this is a little bit heavy-handed, but I've seen people do this, adding like a constant to this and just selecting one of the colors from there and then kind of just dialing that in a little bit, like super lightly. And you can even do that, merge this inside of the highlighted areas. If you don't want it to be like super over top of everything. But you can even just, you just add in a color over top of it. And like that will really help add in some of those like glowy secondary effects. But in terms of, and then you can go cheesy with it too if you want. Let's see, I haven't done a flare in a long time. Is there like another type of flare that you can do that's better than this? Ugh. Either way, you can get that light around the outside there. You can... I'm wondering, like, for some reason this isn't... Oh, there we go. Wondering why I can't get this to be... There used to be different types of flares that you could do, and I'm not seeing it right now. I can figure this out later. But basically, you can add a little bit of a, like a lens flare on that. So you can morph that around, but that's not exactly what I wanted. This would be more like 15. And maybe something like that. And then, sorry, now I'm just playing. Blur the heck out of it or something. Anyway, I'm not going to do this right now. Okay. But that would be one thing that you can do there. Because the biggest thing is you want to just like really kind of engulf this overall with just some like bathe it in warm light a little bit. And so you can kind of feel it all out a little bit better. And then let's do this too. Down around the edges. So you can see if we look at this radial, just a little bit more. Just kind of self-centered, just in the middle there. But I think that stuff, just like that little bit of stuff, will really kind of help pull it all together, liven it up a little bit. Yeah, and then keep pushing the lighting on some of this stuff too, because it's like, I'm wondering if there's not a way to push some more light into this region here, like maybe just like scooting the light a little bit more over that way, just to get some more in here, or repositioning these maybe, or just clearing them out so it's really just about this, and then some stuff around there maybe. Yeah, I mean, that could be an option too. But all right, I've been rambling now. Okay, hope you guys found this helpful. If you have any questions, let me know. Throw it in the comments down below, and I will be glad to help you out. All right, talk to you soon, everybody. Happy letting.